Hey everybody, a little story time here. I'll try to keep this brief, not too long, but who knows, right? Story time gets long. I want to talk about how I first arrived at ESPN. Very grateful for that opportunity. Best moment, highlight moment of my career. I remember the year might have been 2010 or 2011. I was working at the Tennis Channel, and the agent that I had at the time knew a man by the name of Jerry Madelon. Shout out to Jerry. And Jerry and I somehow got connected over email, and I would send my resume reel to Jerry, and Jerry said, come to Bristol. I'll meet with you whenever you have time. And then the way I think, I was like, well, let me just book a ticket and say I'll happen to be in the area. And so I booked a ticket on my own, paid for my own hotel, and I stood in the lobby of ESPN and I waited for Jerry Madelon to meet with me. He met with me for a few. He talked to me about my resume. When he realized I came from California, he said, wow, you came from a long way. My bad. Let me see if somebody else can meet with you. And over the next day or so, day and a half, I met with other people, thanks in large part to Jerry Madelon. But he said to me, I don't have a job for you, Miss Champion, but when I do, I'll let you know. In the meantime, keep sending me your reel and the work that you're doing, and we'll just keep in touch. And that's what I did. For the next 6 months to the year, I sent him my reel. We kept in touch. One day he called me and said, and I'm speeding this up for you, he said, there's an opening on First Take. Are you interested? And I said, of course. I went and auditioned. And in that audition, I sat next to Skip and Stephen A. And I read the prompter and I pretended to do faux debates, right? It was not real debates. It was after they'd filmed their live show. It wasn't a real debate. And I left thinking, oh, I did pretty well. And I felt like I might get the job. I'm not for sure. Not necessarily 100% sold, but I do know that I did a good job on that audition reel, if I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Had a few, well, it wasn't perfect, but for the most part, pretty good. Post-mortem with producers, I talked to Skip afterwards. He said, explained to me how the show was high profile and that things would change for me once I got on that show. And he was like, and you have to be careful because the show isn't your traditional show. It can go anyway. Like you could be on this show and he was explaining really what was going on. And he said, you really won't understand what the show is like until you're on the show. And I remember talking to Stephen A. and Stephen A. was like, look, this is Skip's show. In short, he was like, if you like it, I love it. Meaning if Skip is on, I'm on board, but this is Skip's show. And I said, bet. And I remember being giddy and happy and just grateful. And then I met with Jamie Horowitz, who was the boss who had to give the final okay from my understanding. And he said, I'm going to send you to one more boss. And his name was John. And I went to, not John Skipper, but I went to another boss and I talked to that boss. And that boss was like, yep, okay, well, welcome. I don't recall how instrumental Mr. Smith was, Stephen A. Smith, but I'm sure he absolutely had to sign off as well. But I want to say the person who found me, discovered me, scouted me out is Jerry Madelon, and I thank you. And that is my story time, ladies and gentlemen. And if I'm really honest with you and I'm keeping it a buck, my Father in heaven, Jesus Christ, he is my kingmaker. He is the one who knew that I would have this opportunity. He was the one who made sure that I would shine. And so I am thankful and grateful to my Father, Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. Now, with that being said, I want to say to Jamel Hill, I didn't mean to put you in a war, my friend. You just jumped in with me and I appreciate you. Very similar and reminiscent of old days. So I thank you. I see you. I appreciate you. You didn't have to do it, but I love you, sis. To Mr. Smith, I'm not looking for attention. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not jumping out looking for attention. In fact, many of your folks said, where's she been? I'm like, I'm good. Life is good. No complaints. And with that being said, I am not a liar. I will say this. Everyone has their own truth. You could have your truth. I can have my truth. The truth probably is somewhere in the middle if you brought in some impartial people. But I have no reason to lie. I am not a liar. I have no reason to lie. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? No reason. But I am, Stephen A. Smith, grateful for the platform you shared with me. And I understand what that meant to you and to Skip Bayless during that time. But I know what I know. I lived it. And I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details. Y'all don't need to know. Ain't none of y'all business. I am not a liar. No need to do that. I'm telling you right now, in Jesus' name, amen.